Welcome back. I'm your instructor, Domiko O. Cunningham, and we are continuing with our NSX modeling here inside of 3D Studio Max. Now, as you can see, I have moved a little bit farther on with my model for the NSX. What I've done in here, I've actually built an undercarriage for the car, so it doesn't have any details underneath it, but this will give me the ability to actually have a solid feature for the car. So when you look through this, you'll actually be able to see like wheel wells and things of that nature. Because if we didn't have that, when we go to set up our lighting, the light would actually leak through the body and fall underneath the car, and it would look really weird because you would have this shadow of the contours of the roof of the car, and it would be nothing to block it. It'd be nothing to block the light. So if we look at our model right now, we can see I finish off the major pieces of the car. Now for this particular vehicle, I'm not going to do the interior. This is going to be a beauty shot only, so I'm only going to do the exterior of the vehicle. If we look at this, you can see I've applied symmetry. If I turn this off, what I basically have done, if you look at this low poly part of this, I'm going to turn off symmetry and go down into where it says use NURMS and turn off NURMS. You can see that these pieces are actually quite low polygon. They're actually quite low poly. And I do that, I keep my poly count low, so it's easier to manipulate these pieces. Now, when I come in here and say use NURMS, and you see I have my iterations turned to about 2 or 3, you have to be very careful because your subdivisions, when you do that, your subdivisions do add a lot of polygon count to your model. Now, if you look back here, I've got the same thing going on. I've got this piece that goes across, and then once again has symmetry applied to it. If I deactivate that for a second, we can see that I've just modeled half of the car, turned on symmetry, and set that up. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you how to set up symmetry on a piece, and then we'll get into the actual lighting scheme of this particular um, model. So the setup symmetry, first thing I want to do is I've got two pieces that make up this back tail light. I've got the tail light piece, and I have like a piece that I'm going to use for the lens. So I'm just going to grab this piece here, and I'm going to right click on this, and I have a unwrap on this because I unwrapped it so that I could put texture onto it. But I'm just going to collapse this down. So I'm going to say right click on this and collapse to. It's going to ask me, it's going to say, wait a minute, you're going to collapse this. I'm going to say yes. It's still been unwrapped. It's just that now I don't have all those other modifiers to deal with. So I've got this broken down. I'll come to this one piece here, go into my modifier list, and I'm going to look in here for symmetry. So come down in here. Let's find it. Simma, 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 simma. So there it is right here, symmetry. Now, the way symmetry works is, it's really cool. Right now, you'll see my piece looks a little distorted because it's missing stuff over here. But I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to go, and I'm not going to flip this, but you can see it'll actually flip your piece. And I want to actually change this. So I'm going to go into symmetry and go to my mirror. And when I go to the mirror, you'll see it lets me move this little gizmo right here. So what I need to do is I need to line this guy up appropriately. So you see when I set my mirror axis to Z, it sets this guy up right. I can pull this until it like merges it at the seams right there. And that piece has symmetry on it. If I go down to my editable poly, turn on my use NURMS, I can turn this up to like a level 2. And when I go back up to symmetry, you'll see that symmetry automatically takes that use NURMS function for smoothing and smooths out both sides of my piece, which is awesome. I'll come in here once again, grab my lens piece right here, and I'll smooth this down to like 1. This is what my lenses are going to go on the back end of my car. And once again, I'll go in here, find symmetry, and we'll make sure we mirror this on the right axis. And if I need to move my axis, I can always go inside of my mirror, inside of my symmetry, go down to the mirror function of my symmetry, and just drag this over until it matches up like right here. So that looks good. Let's take a look at this and see if it's sticking out. And it is sticking out a little bit on the side over here. So we're going to bring this in just a little bit right about there. So we've got both pieces of this and it's symmetrical. So I've got the back piece of my car finished. That's how I built the rest of these pieces. I basically just built half of my car and then I applied symmetry to it. All right. So in the next lesson, the next part of this lesson, we're going to start setting up the actual lighting of this scene.